I'm sure most of us who grew up gaming could remember playing our first M-rated video game, especially if you grew up with good parents who actually paid attention to the kinds of games their kids were playing. The newly awarded freedom to play a style of game previously prohibited is a nice feeling that makes you feel like you're starting to move up in the world. We also have those games that we used to play growing up that would bring us many laughs and offered us many different ways to play, not just solo, but with friends. Spending long nights with the boys in the gaming room, just having some laughs and enjoying the chaos. Welcome back to another episode of A Taste of Nostalgia, everyone. And in today's episode, we'll be covering one of the most iconic games ever released on the PlayStation 2 and the first ever M-rated game that I purchased, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Grand Theft Auto Vice City and I go way back to my earliest teenage years. Maybe even a little before them. I don't fully remember. I purchased Vice City for the PlayStation 2 back in the early 2010s for $5 at a yard sale. One of my favorite things to do in Vice City didn't even involve playing the story. What I used to do is set the wanted level to 6 stars and time myself to see how long I could survive the onslaught of armed forces without being allowed to lower the wanted level or camp in one spot. I would spend hours playing this game like that, both alone and with friends. In fact, most of my favorite memories with this game don't involve the story at all. For this video, I will be playing through the entire GTA Vice City campaign, but I will not be playing every mission or trying to get every collectible. The reason I won't be doing all the optional missions is because some of them are really tedious to finish, and I would like to have this video out at a reasonable time. I will also be playing this game with cheat codes. The reason for that is because it's the only way I used to play this game growing up, and I still, to this day, believe that adding an absurd amount of cheat codes to the game makes it super fun and even more enjoyable, as well as making the annoying missions much more tolerable. I will, however, make sure not to use the invincibility cheat. Now that that's out of the way, let's jump right into Vice City. The main character of this story is the man himself, Tommy Vercetti. Tommy is an Italian-American who is a member of the Forelli crime family who was recently released from a 15-year prison sentence for murdering 11 people when he was ambushed. The game takes place in the year 1986. The game starts off with a meeting involving a man by the name of Sonny, who is the head of the Forelli crime family. Discussing Tommy's recent release from prison, he says that Tommy running around the neighborhood will make people remember what happened that day, which is bad for business. Sonny also wants to expand down south, so to kill two birds with one stone, he sends Tommy down to Vice City to establish a drug dealing presence while also keeping him away from the main operation. Once Tommy establishes everything down south, they plan to visit him and take a nice cut out of everything he's earned. Tommy links up with the family's contact, a lawyer by the name of Ken, and they head out with a couple other dudes to do the deal. However, when the deal is about to be made, an unknown group ambushes them and runs off with the coke and money. They also kill everyone except Ken, Tommy, and Lance. Sonny isn't too happy though when he learns that his money's gone. Tommy and Ken need to make connections in the criminal underworld to learn who ambushed the deal and stole the money. Ken sends Tommy to a party on a yacht where he meets a number of characters who will be important to the story. Juan Cortez, who set up the original deal, Mercedes, his daughter, and Ricardo Diaz, who is known as a big-time coke dealer in the area. For some reason though, when we leave the party, Mercedes decided to sit in the backseat of the car. I don't think I've ever seen her do that before. After the party, Ken sends us to meet a man by the name of Kent Paul, a man who is very involved with everything going on in Vice City, who would know if someone got their hands on a whole bunch of coke. 20 kilos to be exact. I don't really know how much that is, but I know it's probably worth a lot of money. Kent sends us to meet a chef who deals behind the restaurant on Ocean Drive, who seems pretty pleased with himself. So we go and dump one from the chamber into him because I used the weapon cheat to get myself some gear. Specifically weapon set 2 for those of you who know. We then take his cell phone, and this is important for later. I use weapon set 2 because of the revolver it gives you that one-shots anyone besides the bosses you fight throughout the game. After beating up the chef, we are introduced to Lance Vance, the pilot who survived the ambush in the beginning of the game. Lance is also investigating who is behind the ambush because the person who was killed was his brother, and Lance wants revenge. You remember in the beginning of this video where I said one of my favorite things to do in this game was use the wanted level cheat to give myself 6 stars and see how long I could survive? Well, the other thing I really liked doing was spawning the Rhino tank and doing the vigilante missions to earn some money. For those of you who don't know, the Rhino tank is the most overpowered vehicle in the game. Just touching the tank, even a little, causes the vehicle to explode. So, I decided to take a break from the missions and try a round of vigilante. One thing I love doing with the tank is turning the cannon around to point behind the tank and using it to give myself a speed boost with each shot. For some reason, the wanted level when doing this won't go higher than 4 stars, so I don't need to worry about other tanks showing up and trying to stop me from keeping the streets safe. When I started, I had $200, and when I finished, after about an hour of play, I had $1,377,440 with 438 kills, and I still had 68 minutes left on the clock. Again, the Rhino is super OP in this game and is an easy moneymaker. The reason why I wanted to make this much money is because later in the game, you need to buy and finish 6 assets, and I wanted to make sure I had the money now so I didn't have to wait for businesses to slowly generate the money for me later. Normally, you would just stand around and wait for the businesses to make you money, but that takes a while. After the chaos, we work on a few filler missions that are standard in GTA games. For the sake of this video, I will be skipping over these and not talking about them unless something funny or cool happens. I will point out though that one of the characters we meet is Avery Carrington, who is a real estate developer who is apparently a main part of Tommy's crew, but the game doesn't really do anything with him and most of his missions are just filler. I felt it important to mention him though. He is a really interesting character to me and I wish that the game did more with him. One notable mission from Avery involves us going to a golf course to beat up somebody who won't sell him land. When you pass through the metal detector, you lose all of your weapons until you leave when you can pick them back up. I always love walking through the metal detector and seeing all of the weapons just line the hall and wonder what the guards must be thinking when they see a guy drop a rocket launcher, assault rifles, grenades, and a whole lot more just right in front of them. However, for some reason, they let Tommy enter with his samurai sword. Oh, I love this game. Once I'm in, I just spawn more weapons, and instead of beating the target up, I just use a sniper. Potato, potato, right? Also, it's really funny how the guards immediately just walk away after he's shot without a single care. Like, well, time to clock off. It's at this point when the game gives you side missions that are completely optional, like the payphone assassination missions and the gang missions. Again, I won't be going over these. We do some more filler missions for Cortez and Avery along the way. One of the Cortez missions, called Guardian Angel, involves us teaming up with Lance to watch over a drug deal between Diaz and the Cuban gang. However, just like the first deal, the second one also gets ambushed, this time by the Haitian gang. If there is a lesson to be learned here, it's that you should never cover your squad with a rocket launcher when they're only a few feet away from the rival gang. Once that mission is over, we get an invite from Diaz to do some work for him. However, it becomes very obvious to Tommy and Lance that he's the one behind the original ambush at the start of the game. Lance wants to take Diaz out now, but Tommy stops him, saying that he wants to earn Diaz's trust and learn as much as possible from him before he takes the town over, kills Diaz, and takes over his business. It's at this time that Tommy is having bigger ambitions for himself, rather than worrying about repaying Sonny his money that he lost. One of the other missions we do for Diaz is a mission called the Fastest Boat. The Fastest Boat is another filler mission, but I wanted to mention it here because in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, The boat controls are absolutely horrible, which makes doing any mission on a boat a major chore and a pain in the rear. Does anyone else feel the same way about these, or am I the only person who hates Vice City boat missions? When we start the Diaz mission, Supply and Demand, we get a small hint from Lance that he doesn't like how Tommy is treating him. Lance wants to be treated as an equal by Tommy, and not like some subordinate. This is going to be important for later. We do some fun side missions here. One is from Avery, who wants to start a gang war to lower some property values. We have to dress up as a Cuban gang member and ambush a Haitian funeral. Naturally, instead of doing things covertly and stealthily like the game wants me to do, I spawn a tank and go in guns a-blazing. We also get a mission from Cortez, who wants us to steal a tank for him. So naturally, I spawn a tank of my own and use it to steal the exact same tank. Also, somehow, I managed to ambush the convoy and steal the tank with my own tank without getting a single wanted level star. I don't think I've ever done that before. This must have been a glitch because as soon as I got into the tank, I got the wanted level, and despite the soldier shooting at me before, the wanted level didn't go up. Well, maybe that's just how the game is supposed to be. I don't know, maybe I'm just misremembering. My favorite mission in the entire game is the gang mission for the Cubans called Cannon Fodder. This is a goofy mission to me and always makes me laugh with just how absurd it is. You start off by taking some Cuban gang members to a fight, which is actually more like a war zone against the Haitians. Rico tells everybody to charge, so I start by blowing up the roadblock with a rocket launcher. The squad then gets ambushed by a sniper, who I then have to snipe myself. Rico then gets on the radio and says they need reinforcements from the cafe, which is such a hilarious sentence to me. The idea that a bunch of gang members are just hanging out in a cafe to be called in as reinforcements is hilarious. And what's even funnier is that they all take a taxi to the fight. After a big fight in this open area, Rico tells us that we have proved our manful bravery, and we steal a red van and leave the scene. But not before I spawn camp the Haitians for a little bit. We steal the van with Rico and finish the mission. That mission was completely optional and not required in any way to finish the game, but I always do the Cuban missions because Rico is the GOAT and because they are such funny and unhinged missions. Now, back to the main story. We find our boy Kent Paul at the club, who tells us that Lance tried to kill Diaz against our wishes and orders and even failed to do so, and is now being held captive at a junkyard and doesn't have much time left before he's killed. So we race to the junkyard to save Lance. Naturally, I spawn in the Rhino tank and go in guns blazing and rescue Lance. Tommy is furious with Lance for trying to kill Diaz and says that they now have no choice but to take him out before Diaz takes them out. For some reason though, on my first attempt at this mission, all of the cars in the tank despawned when I got out, so we had to run and find a car, but while Lance and I were running and searching for a car, this other car came out of nowhere and immediately plowed into Lance and killed him, and then drove off. I really wish I had my mic on when I was recording this because I was laughing my ass off when this happened. I cleared it on the second attempt though. We drop Lance off at the hospital, then tell him to meet us at the bridge on Star Island. Before we take out Diaz, we have one final Cortez mission to do. He needs to flee Vice City because the French government is after him. So we protect him on his yacht from the French and finish up the Cortez arc. After they are safely away, Cortez gives Tommy a boat for his help and his gratitude, and I promptly beach it on Diaz's docks shortly after. Nothing says stealth like beaching an expensive boat on the dock of the rich dude you're getting ready to take out in his own backyard. Taking out Diaz is not a hard thing to do, and the mission is pretty straightforward, especially when you have a revolver that auto-targets anyone in its range and drops them with a single shot. Diaz, however, doesn't go down in one shot. He takes 6 revolver shots to go down, but that's bosses for you. We plow our way through the mansion and take out Diaz and take over his business. This unlocks us our first asset, the Vercetti drug dealings and protections. This lets us earn passive income that we can collect anytime we visit the mansion. I'll talk more about this later. Once Diaz is gone, we can start one of my least favorite missions in the game, Shakedown. Shakedown, for those of you who don't know, is a very simple mission in concept. The store owners aren't paying for protection from Tommy's new gang to Tommy because Diaz is dead. So he goes to the mall to intimidate them into paying Tommy to leave them alone and protect them. It's a simple, create a problem and sell a solution type situation. Anyways, the mission is simple in that you simply go to the mall and destroy all breakable windows in 5 minutes. What makes this mission so hard is that you have cops and security shooting at you the entire time, and the windows are split up between 2 separate floors. I can't properly explain just how annoying this mission is. If you fail it, you have to drive all the way back to the mansion, start the mission again, then drive all the way back to the mall and repeat until you finish the mission. I almost did this first try. I smashed all the windows in the mall in time, but the game glitched and didn't play the cutscene, so the timer ended up running out and I had to start all over again. While that mission may be over, but Tommy's beef with the local security companies isn't. Before I do those missions though, I decided to move on to a different arc, the Printworks arc. After Shakedown is over, you are allowed to purchase assets that generate money, but these locations have some missions of their own that need done before they can generate income. Remember when I said that you need 6 assets to finish the game? You need to have 6 assets earning income through completing their mission or missions to unlock the income. You won't get to finish the game until you purchase and finish 6 assets of your choice. Normally, you would use the passive income from Tommy's mansion combined with the money you get from missions and slowly acquire more property that way. But that takes too long, which is why I did the vigilante missions early in the game, so I can drive around and purchase them. I'll touch more on that later though. One thing to note though is that one of these assets is mandatory to purchase and finish, and that's the Printworks. So after doing Shakedown, I decided to purchase the Printworks and work on those missions. The missions aren't hard to do, but they can be annoying at times, especially the mission where you have to board the shipping freighter. I would like to point out though that the man at the Printworks that gives Tommy the missions, his name is Ernest Kelly. You're gonna want to remember him for later. Now that Tommy has taken over the Diaz business and has property, you'll see some of the gang members in Tommy's gang hanging around any property that you acquire. I mention this because whenever I was playing this game growing up, there were 3 cheat codes that I always had turned on. The first one changed all of Tommy's gang members into women in swimsuits. The second one gave all females guns. And the third one made all pedestrians riot. None of these 3 cheat codes can ever be turned off. Even if you reset the game, they will always stay on that save file. This used to make me laugh hysterically because anywhere you went, there were always pedestrians fighting and carjacking each other. Also, anytime you went to one of your properties, there would be a bunch of women with assault rifles just shooting each other for no reason. My words cannot describe just how funny this all is. However, for this video, I did not use those cheats. I wanted to keep things slightly on the rails and not have a completely unhinged playthrough, mainly because it would make certain missions much harder. If you have this game though, I highly recommend you try a playthrough with those 3 codes. You won't regret it. Anyways, now that I have the Printworks missions done and earning income, we can get back to Tommy's beef with local security companies. The mission just involves us taking out security at local businesses and telling them to go through us. You also bring along 2 henchmen who help you out, but you can leave them behind at your first stop without consequences. I don't care though, and I make sure they always stay with me, cause you gotta keep the boys together. We passed the mission with no issues, and the 2 henchmen who were with me, who I spent so much time making sure stayed alive, despawned. They just despawned. Shortly after the mission, we get a call from Lance. Lance tells Tommy that he wants a fair slice, to be treated fairly and not be embarrassed in front of the guys. Tommy tells him that it's not like that, and that if he screws up, then Lance can rip on him for a change. Tommy assures Lance that he's not going to stab him in the back or betray him or anything like that. This is important for later also. However, you can probably already see where this is going by now, even if you haven't played the game before. We take on the mission Copland after this. Copland isn't that difficult. Just make sure you leave an escape vehicle by the mall door that can take a beating, and make sure you don't accidentally softlock the mission by spawning a rhino tank on top of yourself and Lance. Also, did you know that in Copland, when you trap the cops in the garage, their heads explode? Yeah, neither did I, but it happened during this playthrough. The game gets a little weird during this mission. Even if you trap more than 2 cops, the extras all disappear anyway, and it's the same for any extra vehicles also. For some reason, the attack on the mall here gives you a higher wanted level than driving around in a tank on a rampage. Doing that only gives you 4 stars max. Now that the mainline missions are all finished for now, we need to start working on assets. There are only 2 main missions left before we beat the game, but to unlock them, we need to finish up the 6 assets that I was telling you all about. The 6 assets that I'm going with are the print works, which is mandatory, the ice cream factory, the boatyard, the pole position club, Sunshine Autos, and Kaufman Cabs. It's also important to note here that the Versetti Estate asset does not count, unfortunately. I went with these 6 for a very simple reason. They are the shortest ones to complete, and some of them I've actually never fully done before. Printworks, while mandatory, only has 2 simple missions to do. Ice Cream Factory is only 1 mission where you sell 50 ice creams to people while avoiding the police. The Boatyard only has 1 race mission that you have to do. The Pole Position Club only requires you to spend $300 in a private dance. Why that's how you unlock income is beyond me, but whatever. Which I didn't even know until I looked it up, how to unlock the asset for it. Sunshine Autos requires you to fetch certain cars for display, which, to sidetrack here, I had never done that before. And honestly, it was a ton of fun hunting down the cars. I'm probably going to return and do the other lists in my free time off camera. Getting back to the main point though, lastly, the Kaufman Cabs has 3 missions and all of them are simple. It even involves a demolition derby against the rival cab company in the finale. Kaufman Cabs is a classic asset, and I encourage anyone listening to partake in those missions when you play the game. They are so unhinged and funny and just an overall blast to play. Now that we have all 6 assets completed, we can begin the final 2 missions of the game. First up is Cap the Collector. Cap the Collector starts off with Tommy finding Ernest Kelly, the guy from the Printworks, in rough shape after being jumped by Sonny's men. Sonny sent down some collectors to tax Tommy's businesses and ended up harming Ernest in the process, someone Tommy is close with. Tommy then hunts down the tax collectors from the crime family and eliminates them. Naturally, to avenge my injured friend Ernest, I hunt down all the mafia members using the Rhino tank. I want to take a side note here and talk about Ernest Kelly for a minute, like I said I would earlier in the video. I wish Ernest would have had a more prominent character role in this game. Him and Tommy bonded quickly over their passion for printer presses and how Tommy's father used to work on them, and he used to help his father clean the rollers. Tommy and Ernest should have had a more father-son type relationship that grew throughout the game. That way, when Ernest gets jumped, it hits you much harder than it does here. Ernest had so much potential, but the game just didn't use him, and that's a shame. But with Cap the Collector done, we can move on to the final mission in the game. The final mission, Keep Your Friends Close, is here at last, and starts with Lance telling Tommy to come to the mansion. Tommy gets to the mansion and finds out that the family up north isn't happy with Tommy for taking out their collectors. So Sonny and friends are coming down to deal with Tommy. Tommy wants to cross Sunny by giving him $20 million in fake cash, but Sunny shows up and immediately knew about the double cross as Lance sold out Tommy and his company to Sunny and told him what was happening. Lance's betrayal was very heavily foreshadowed and hinted at throughout the entire game through his dialogue with Tommy and their phone calls. This sets up the final showdown between Tommy and Sunny and Lance. This mission is tough and has always given me problems growing up anytime I would play through this game. Mainly because there are endless enemies to take down and Sunny and Lance each have a ton of health, which makes survival against them very tough. You can spawn camp the beginning of the mission easily enough with the revolver, but when Lance shows up and you have to hunt him down on the roof, then things get difficult as there are enemies spawning everywhere all around you. If you don't deal with them quickly, they will overrun you. I chased Lance up to the rooftop and deal with him honorably, and by honorably, I mean launching RPGs at him and then unloading an entire clip into his dead body after picking up the cash he dropped. Then, while abusing the health spawns in the office, I slowly turtle my way through Sunny's men, taking a shot at Sunny whenever I catch a break between waves. Eventually, Sunny goes down, and I finish Grand Theft Auto Vice City. That was such a fun time. I love GTA Vice City so much, and I'm so happy that Vice City itself will be returning in Grand Theft Auto 6. I haven't played much Grand Theft Auto outside of 5 and Vice City, so I wouldn't call myself a diehard fan of the series by any means, but these games are home to some great memories for me, and I consider Vice City and GTA 5 to be among my top 25 games of all time. GTA Vice City might have its issues, but its gameplay is still fun to mess around with to this day. I also really love that you have to build up assets and make investments to progress through this game. As somebody who really enjoys investment in tycoon games and whatnot, I can really appreciate that aspect of GTA Vice City. What are your thoughts on GTA Vice City? Where do you rank it among the other GTA games? Leave me your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss the next episode of A Taste of Nostalgia here on the channel. Also, if you enjoyed watching me play through Vice City, then you should definitely check out my Taste of Nostalgia video on The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. You should also check out my Taste of Nostalgia series, where I've covered other games such as The Sims 3, Donkey Kong 64, and many more. I'll leave the playlist on the end card of this video for you to check out, as well as my Ocarina of Time Taste of Nostalgia video. I think you'll really enjoy it. Like always, I want to thank you for your time and for your support. Whether you watched a little bit of this video or the entire video, I want you to know that your support means a lot to me. Stay tuned for future videos here on the channel, and if you want to interact more with this community, feel free to hop on a live stream here on the channel. I go live 3 times a week and would love to see you stop by. With all that being said, thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye for now.